Well, hello, folks. It's Shooter. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to risk off here. I don't like what I'm seeing in these counts, and too many of them are extending to the downside. Not only that, it looks like we are going to close below 418 on the SPY. So let me just jump into that. Of course, review our disclosures at the end of the presentation. Let me start off with the S&P. Now, the S&P has not extended, but I honestly feel that we're going to extend to trend support, which is down around 381.97. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, has extended, and we're looking for maybe 326 on our intermediate wave. Now, the depth of that back test on wave 4, if it's shallow, this is going to extend even further. So that's the unfortunate thing where we are, is that we have all these patterns that are setting up that just potentially could totally extend. Now, I wanted to jump and, look at Apple here. Apple is 163, drive 1, drive 2, drive 3. Again, that back test is going to determine whether we extend further. And, honestly, we're seeing a lot of stocks do that. So it would not surprise me if the Magnificent Seven starts to roll over as well. Now, looking at Microsoft, it's the only one that looks like it might head to the upside. But I have a ghost print down here around 272 that, has just been sort of sitting there. So hang tight on the covered calls. Let me backtrack for a second. Now, covered calls on the Apple, I would buy back whatever you bought up here and roll down to maybe 182s. I think it's a pretty safe bet at this point. Then let's look at Intel. Now, what I would do here, I'd actually come in and sell maybe around 37, 35s up here, stay pretty tight on those. The main reason is I think this breaks down further than this. This is more of a manual count. So looking out on the weekly, just where we are, this back test that we had here is too shallow. Even if we take 50% of this leg, we're up closer to the 200-day. We should have gotten back up there. So if this is going to flip back and put another leg lower, that would be what would occur. I think I would be very cautious holding Intel through this, just because that becomes shallow. This morphs into an impulse wave down, which would look something like this, which takes us way the heck down there. It's just way too deep for us to ride out. If we turn that corner, unfortunately, the market just has not turned in our favor. Let's take a look at the Fangs again. Now, I wasn't able to get a read on Nvidia, so I'll just run a manual on what we potentially could be looking at. So maybe 382 should be our new target to the downside. We've overshot the primary wave, so we've broken down further. However, that also could become an impulse leg down, which would look like something like that as well. So this is why I'm going to risk off, because I'm seeing too many of the Magnificent Seven, in a rollover sort of mindset at this point. So let's take a look at Meta. Now, our count has rolled just a little bit, not too deep. It still looks like that breakdown line is going to hold. However, let me show you what the messing with my labels to make sure they're right according to the current count. But looking at, Meta, price rejection for me, drive 1, drive 2, drive 3 really didn't print, but that could be our 3 because it is a higher high. Realize on that. So, right now the count has it as an ABC and it's not recognizing it as a 5-wave down. However, our harmonics give us some decent downside. So we break down here, we're going lower, and that's ultimately where my thought is on going risk off. I just, too much of our gains in the last year have been from the Magnificent Seven, and for us to lose them sort of means that we have some trouble. So looking at Tesla, count now says 192, but I also don't like the chatter. There's a lot of chatter about Musk and how his opinion has really changed. So, if this morphs from the current count lower, we could be back testing our January 23 support on this as well. So, that's challenging. Now, looking at Google in the same way, we've now broken down. Again, I don't know why. Data seems to be crazy today, but I've not been able to get some charts to give me the looks I want. It's not letting me pull data, and I've tried reloading stuff, and it's not giving it to me. So my apologies for that. So we're looking at, that from a manual aspect. Google still is not in a bad spot. 200 a day. I mean, of course, horrible off of earnings, but, so it measures down to an extended ABC. The problem is that it becomes an elongated ABC. Goes back to trend support. So, I would say that our current count is probably around 120 with how much that's pushed, because we had continuation selling. So, I mean, I think we continue. I don't think it stops. Now, Micron broke trend support. Now it says it's done. But here again, let me bring in look. Now, this is what I do. I look at all different charts, look at the different outcomes. And this potential, has a potential of becoming a 5-wave down, which is the way the market typically goes when Micron breaks down. So Micron could come in around $48-50, so that makes it very difficult. On top of that, even though, XOM has been holding its own, I have to come out and look at the weekly and, talk about drive 1, drive 2, drive 3. So trend support breaks at 103.27. The difficulty is holding common shares there, I think. I mean, you could hold them. But as soon as we go into Israel, oil is going to pop. I don't know how much it's going to pop. We didn't get a big thing, but, we just sent over 900 troops from the U.S. over to Israel, which is an escalation for me. They're not calling that, but I don't think this ends well. So, if oil has to really come off for the markets to crash, and I'm going to repeat that time and time again. However, we now have weakness in a number of sectors. So let me jump over and look at crypto, look at Bitcoin. Now, we have wave 3 pretty much, bouncing around there a little bit, but that 35.25 pretty much was it. So our back test should be about 33.375, and then we head towards our 3 around 36. So, the difficulty there is we come back and do it again. So we're going to build out this flat. So trend support for us is this wiki thing that occurred right here, because that really is our back test. So, it closed below 32880.1. Means we're going to break down. And the most likely outcome is to back test the golden box. Then if that fails, we go back down to trend support. Now, the SEC came out and said they had close to a dozen filings for Bitcoin ETF. However, there were a number of folks that were giving testimony, I guess, on the news, it would be a good way to explain it, that said that there's no guarantee that we get a Bitcoin ETF. So I think it's inevitable. That's my view, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that occurs. So obviously, need to manage your risk accordingly, based on what you're capable to absorb. Looking at GBTC, we're going to put in our 4 here, about 25, and push towards about 28. So that's what I have for tonight, folks. Great trading. Until next time.